Namaste. Welcome to my Hammer Show. In this television show, I basically invite new guests to discuss host range of topic like sustainable development, human rights, education, environment, and so forth. Today, I have a plan to discuss about the UNESCO's work in Nepal. The UNESCO is a specialized agency of United Nations, and it was the UNESCO office in Kathmandu was opened in 1998 in Nepal. And I'll basically talk about what UNESCO is doing for last 2.5 decades. And today I have very high-profile guests who is none other than Christian Manhart. Am I right?
Yes.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for inviting me to allow me to speak a little bit about our activities here in Nepal.
UNESCO's one of the competency is to promote the education, science, and communication, right? Since 1998, what is UNESCO office in Kathmandu doing to promote this all?
We work in education, as you said, in science, in media, in communication, and also a lot in the field of culture. And we have worked in culture now mainly after the earthquake in the reconstruction and capacity building of the Department of Archaeology. We are also active in Lumbini, for example, to save not only the remains of Lumbini, the birthplace of Lord Buddha, but also many of the Buddhist sites in this area. In the field of media, we work. For example, we did an assessment of curricula of media universities, and we prepare now proposals how to improve and update these curricula. We work for the safety of journalists. And also one of our main lines in the media is to give access to information to all. In the field of education, our priority is the empowerment of young women and girls. And also we provide policy advice on curricula to the Ministry of Education.
When we talk about educations, we basically talk about multilingual education, right? Which is a priority in Nepal currently. What is UNESCO office doing, or how is it promoting this multilingual lingual education in Nepal?
Yeah, Nepal is a small country, but you have 123 different languages. So this is absolutely exceptional. I've not seen any comparable case in all the countries over the world I have worked until now. And in your constitution, in the old one, but also in the new one, the students have the right to get primary education at least in their mother language. This is something which is very useful because we know that mother language education is much better for the pupils than education in a language they do not master, or they only have to learn. And on the other side, for the country Nepal, which is not a very rich country, so Nepal is still one of the least developed countries, it's a huge burden. Because you have to provide teachers in all these languages. You have to send them into remote areas. And this, at the moment, Nepal is not ready for that. So UNESCO is working closely with the Language Commission, which is a commission set up by the Constitution. And we also work closely with the Ministry of Education to ensure mother language education for all pupils, but at the moment, as I said, we are not yet there, and it is a major challenge for the country. So we just 1 month ago we organized a meeting with the politicians, with experts, with parliamentarians on this subject. So we co-organized this with the Nepali Language Commission, in order to raise the awareness on one side of the politician for this need and how important mother language education is, and on the other side to evaluate what are the technical possibilities and the financial possibilities we have to ensure this at least primary education in the mother language.
UNESCO has experience of working across the world. Perhaps it has a long experience. Why the multilingual education is such important in a country which has diverse language like Nepal?
I think it's important all over the world because the language is an important part of the culture and of the cultural identity of the people. So if people lose their mother language because they are not taught anymore in this language because they now use Nepali or English, so they will lose a big part of their cultural identity. And we have this problem all over the world that we lose mother languages. We lose a lot of indigenous languages all over the world, and UNESCO actually had a program to save indigenous languages, which is of course a mission impossible because it's a very huge task all over the world. And now, unfortunately, due to the financial difficulties, you know that four main donor countries to UNESCO do not pay their dues at the moment. So we have the United States of America. They have not paid since 2011. We have now Brazil. They do not pay anymore since this year because the country has a lot of financial difficulties and they did not pay any UN organization. Then UK is not paying anymore to UNESCO because they made an assessment of UNESCO's management, and they think we should change our management culture, and therefore they withhold their contribution, which they have to pay. And the same is the case for Japan as well. That Japan, due to some political difficulties, also with UNESCO, they have not paid this year's contribution. We have a deficit at the moment of $75 million. This means that we have to cut down programs, and one of the programs we had to cut down is.
It is sad that to know the donor countries to UNESCO has cut down the finances, and UNESCO has actually held back the programs for the promotion of indigenous people's languages. But then, as you have also said, do you have any plans to retake or reinitiate that sort of programs?
This is a policy question which will be taken by our member states during the General Conference. So we will have our next General Conference in November of this year, 2017. This General Conference takes place every second year, and all the 195 member states of UNESCO meet in order to decide on the policies of the organization. So they will take this kind of policy decision. Here in Nepal, I am in the, unlucky or lucky situation that's already I had very little regular budget of UNESCO. So most of our funding comes from additional sources. We call them extra budgetary sources. So we have money in the field of education, for example, from the Malala Fund, from the CAP-ED Fund, from the Chinese Hainan Foundation, and the biggest fund comes from KOICA, which is the Korean corporation. So under these funds, which are not cut because they don't belong to the regular budget of UNESCO, we still have the possibility of doing our program. So in Nepal, we are not too much impacted about this financial situation in general of UNESCO.
So far, we have talked about the education and educational promotions. Let us talk about the cultural sector. And one of the areas of UNESCO is to promote the culture as well. How is UNESCO promoting the culture in a diverse country like Nepal?
In Nepal, also in the field of culture, you are a very exceptional country because you have, in this small country, you have so many different cultures, not only different languages, but with these languages also go different cultures, different cultural heritage, and also different religions. And it is so nice to see that contrary to so many other countries, the religions live together in a very harmonious way. Many people here are even Buddhists and Hindus at the same time, and you see many temples which have elements of Buddhism and of Hinduism, and I think this is very particular in Nepal, and this has to be preserved. The earthquake unfortunately destroyed a lot of these unique temples, and if we do not manage to reconstruct the temples as they originally were, we also risk losing the intangible heritage. So all these religious ceremonies which go with together with a particular temple or with a particular area in a village or a neighborhood in a city. So therefore we are working with the National Reconstruction Authority, so we have a direct channel with them, and also very closely with the Department of Archaeology for the reconstruction of the heritage, and also for the conservation of temples and palaces which have not collapsed but which are damaged and at risk of collapsing one day. As all of us know, the speed of the reconstruction is extremely slow. We are not in an ideal environment. We have a political instability, which we also have regulations. For example, here in Nepal, when the Department of Archaeology wants to make the restoration of a temple, they have to make a bidding process outside, and they have to take the lowest bidder, meaning that this lowest bidder will not be the best one. And UNESCO, sometimes I see our role like a watchdog. So we go and we see, and if we see wrong work, we stop the work. So we go to the Department of Archaeology, we tell them, you have to stop this, you have to do it better. So a few months ago I had to stop, for example, the restoration of the Tashigomang stupa in Soyambu and another stupa in Soyambu, because the lime mortar which was used was too weak. Of course, the people there in Soyambu were not very happy with that decision, and we then did a training for them, because lime mortar, you cannot just mix it and use it the next day. You have to soak it for at least 24 days, ideally even 30 days. And this, of course, takes much longer and costs much more money, because you have to have different basins for the quantity you will use in 10 days, in 24 days, in 30 days. And it makes the work much more complicated, and if a contractor is paid the lowest wage, he cannot afford that. So we are discussing this subject since almost 2 years now with the government. There was made a proposal together by UNESCO and NRA, which is blocked in front of the cabinet of the ministers. So the proposal to improve this and to make an adequate bidding process for cultural heritage monument is still now with the cabinet of ministers since the month of May. We are hoping that the present cabinet will approve it. They have not disapproved it, but they also have not approved it up to now. But I think this will be a considerable breakthrough towards better conservation and restoration of the historical remains, in particular in the Kathmandu Valley.
Yeah, Nepal is rich in terms of cultural heritage, and the Kathmandu itself has 7 world heritage sites. But all these heritage sites were damaged by the earthquake, which was in 2015, April 25, right?
Yes.
And it has already been 2 years. But when can people see these World Heritage Site be rebuilt It has already been 2 years. You have already, helped to the government of Nepal as well. And what is UNESCO office doing to follow up for the, speedy reconstruction of these World Heritage sites?
We have reconstructed some of them already, and we are in the process. For example, the Tashigomang Stupa in Soyambu is now finished. I will in September make a puja for that. Then some parts of Hanumantoka were already reconstructed. In Patan also a lot has been reconstructed, and also in Bhaktapur. So it's going. Of course, it's going slowly, but I think better we make it slowly than too hastily and don't do it rightly. We have really to understand what is the reason why a particular monument collapsed. Therefore, we did several campaigns of archaeological excavations of the foundation. So we did this together with Durham University, which is based in UK, Tribhuvan University, and the Department of Archaeology. And we know now from the excavated temples what were the reasons why they collapsed, or whether we have to reinforce the foundations, or whether we can build on these foundations. So this is very time consuming and also money consuming, and this is one of the reasons also why the reconstruction is slow. And I am very optimistic that we are able to reconstruct the temples and also the palaces in the Kathmandu Valley on the 7 World Heritage Sites, because we have good documentation of them. So since more than 40 years, architects have made drawings. We have even historical photographs. You see some here in my office of these photographs, which often even are before the 1934 earthquake. And we also have most of the architectural features. For example, UNESCO collected in Hanumantoka, Kathmandu Durbar Square, all the statues and in particular the carved wooden beams, which were dumped in 26 different sites directly after the earthquake. We collected them back, we inventorized them, and we know now exactly which beam belongs to which temple and to which part of the temple, and we have them ready now for the reconstruction, so they can be reused in reconstruction. And I'm very glad to say that we have most of the architectural features of the temples in Hanumantoka. What was not sure directly after the earthquake, because some of you might remember that the municipality was working even with mechanics excavators there and bulldozers. So we were afraid that a lot was destroyed after the earthquake, but we recuperated really a lot, and we are now also in the process of restoring those architectural parts which have been damaged.
So far, we have talked about the tangible or intangible heritage sites. When we talk about intangible heritage or intangible cultural heritages, indigenous peoples are one of the rich community. Is UNESCO office doing anything to promote intangible heritages of cultural communities like indigenous peoples?
Yeah, we just had last week a training workshop in the preservation of intangible heritage, and we had last year even two. So we have every year we do training of the Department of Archaeology and also of indigenous communities, and we have the plan to organize a second one of this year in October or November, together with the Chinese Intangible Heritage Preservation Institute. So they will provide the funding for that. And of course, the intangible heritage is so rich that we cannot provide to all of them, but we hope very much that through these trainings the message will also spread out, and the Ministry of Culture will also help spreading out the message of how to preserve the intangible cultural heritage of Nepal.
We talked about the education and culture. Now let us talk about the another areas of UNESCO, which is the media. Is UNESCO office in Kathmandu doing anything to promote the indigenous medias? When we talk about the medias, we mainly think about television, radio, mainstream medias. But is UNESCO office doing anything to promote other sort of medias, which is called indigenous media?
Actually, at the moment, we have very little funds for media promotion. But in the past, we did many projects for community radios, for example. Because we know that in the remote areas, the people have no television, no internet access, no newspapers, and that radio is often the only means for them to get information. We also participated in World Radio Day every year, which brings together all the radio communities, and which helps them to promote radio as a media in the remote areas. We work closely together with the BBC. They are just our neighbors of the building here. BBC Media Action. They are specialized in community radio, and I very much hope that I will find a financial donor to be able to intensify our work for community media. So we did, since I'm here so I'm here in Nepal in 3 years, we did a lot of training, for example, also for safety of journalists, to which we invited many people, many journalists from remote areas. But at the moment, our funds are very limited, so we are looking for donors to help us. And you don't need much money actually in the field of media to do projects.
So when we talk of the media, the content is one of the important part, and for the promotion of producing media content in different languages, mother tongues. Does UNESCO office have any programs, or it has conducted any plans or programs to promote the content production in different mother tongues in Nepal?
We have produced radio programs in, I don't know now how many, but in indigenous languages for the risk preparedness. So to teach the people how to be prepared for the next earthquake or the next flooding or the next landslide, which will certainly occur here in Nepal. So we continue this program actually with funding which I took from our education sector. So because this is also education, and it's done through not through the media of schools, but through the media of community radio.
I see. And we haven't talked about the science, the areas of science, and I think this is a little priority in Nepal as well. And could you tell me a little bit about how UNESCO's office is doing anything in the field of science?
This officer actually has no science officer and has no budget in science. This was the situation when I arrived here 3 years ago, and I took one person employed under cultural programs to work on science. Entrance point to science, to be able to use a person funded under culture, is that we worked firstly for the natural World Heritage Sites. You know, Nepal has cultural sites, so we have 7 here in the Kathmandu Valley, and we have Lumbini in the Terai, which is also a cultural site, and then natural sites. We have the Sagarmatha National Park and the Chitwan National Park, and so this person from culture worked on that, and then we extended the cooperation to the Man and the Biosphere program. This is a UNESCO convention in the field of science to promote the harmonic living together of humans, animals, and plants in a certain environment. Nepal is part of the MARP program of UNESCO, but they have never seen it as a priority to inscribe area as a man and the biosphere reserve. So in spite of the fact that you have extraordinary natural areas which are all inhabited also by humans, so the potential to have a recognized man in the biosphere reserve here in Nepal is very big. So we revived the Man in the Biosphere Committee of Nepal, and there was a lot of enthusiasm at the beginning, but then also we got caught into some internal struggles between some ministries, because you have to involve several ministries in this, and we have unfortunately the situation that this was slowed down. We have not yet a proposal from Nepal on which site first to inscribe in this list of the Man on the Biosphere reserves, but we are following this up with the concerned ministries, and we hope that we will get very soon such a site inscribed in Nepal, because this would also be a good promotion, not only for the nature, the richness of nature here in Nepal, but also tourists would be attracted to this and could develop some livelihood programs. Then we are also part of an air pollution reduction initiative here in the Kathmandu Valley. You know that Kathmandu is one of the most polluted cities in Asia, maybe in the world, and we think, so we work with several embassies, with other UN agencies, with ICIMOD and also foreign experts. We think that reducing the air pollution in Kathmandu would be rather easy and not very costly. There must only be a political will to do this, and the reduction of air pollution concerns all of us. For example, if we service our car, especially diesel cars, a service diesel car could reduce 100 times the pollution it emits in comparison to a non-serviced car. And you see here in Kathmandu, but all over Nepal, you see these lorries, buses, and also private cars which have big black clouds. So the pollution could be reduced 100 times if you service such a car, which would not be very costly, and which on the other side would even promote employment of the vehicle garages which do this servicing. For example, another thing each one of us can do, not to do waste burning in the garden, because if you burn your waste, you increase the air pollution enormously, and this is the most dangerous pollution in particular when you burn plastic bottles. Agricultural burning is also a big problem, so we try to create awareness among the decision makers in the municipalities and government for this problem of air pollution. Everyone says yes, we know about it, but nobody wants to do something, and into nobody I also include each of the citizens. It's not only the responsibility of the government, but also of the citizens to contribute their share for the reduction of air pollution.
I have basically asked you the questions in regards to different field or different component of UNESCO's. If you have anything to add in overall?
I must say that when I arrived 3 years ago here in Nepal, I did not know Nepal. I had never been in Nepal, but I had worked already in India, in China, and in Bhutan, and I thought that Nepal might be similar to these countries. And when I arrived, I noticed that Nepal is totally different and is a very, very unique country with absolutely unique culture and also nature, and I must say that personally I enjoy very much Nepal, not only for its culture but also for the nature. So me personally, I like very much nature. I like to go out mountain biking or trail running, and this is really a paradise for outdoor sports, Nepal. And I like very much the people here in Nepal, in all areas. I've traveled almost to all areas of in Nepal already, except the Far East. This is still on my to-do list.
Thank you so much, Christian, for your time and your valuable insight.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
So we have come to the end, and next week I will come with new guests. If you have any queries, you can reach me at indigenoustelevision@gmail.com. Till then, I would like to say goodbye.